So what do you got there, Michelle?
In my hand, I'm cleaning up some Jerusalem artichokes that we harvested yesterday. So Maddie and I pulled them out of the garden because they were moving into a part of the garden that we didn't want them to be. And because, as you can see, there's a lot of food here. And today I'm just cutting off the tops.
Can you just show that to the camera?
Yeah. So I'm cutting up the tops and getting the roots, this is the edible part that you eat. And probably make some dinner with these.
So what's the trick with Jerusalem artichokes? Not everybody can eat them, I think, right?
Yeah, I believe it's because they're really high in inulin that some people don't digest them very well. And so they do recommend that the first time, if you've never tried Jerusalem artichokes, I call them J-chokes because it's just a long name. Or I think actually they're called Sunchokes too right now. That you just try a little bit to start. And then if you find they give you any kind of stomach upset or can make you really sick, then you know. And one of my favorite ways to do them though is fermented. I like to ferment them similar to like a lacto ferment, like you do on pickles. I find they're really good, and then because they're such high, I think it's because they're such high inulin. Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. That you know, some people do complain of gas eating them. So the lacto fermented ones, mind you, I've never had anyone complain.
Interesting.
But tonight I'm just going to clean them up and probably boil them and mash them a little bit like potatoes.
So we're going to find out who's allergic to them and who's not.
Well, we've tried them before in our family. We have somebody coming over for dinner tonight, so we'll find out. We'll find out if they can do the J-chokes or not.
So one of the reasons that people hate these plants is because they're very aggressive. Yeah,
they spread, for sure.
That's one of their best attributes, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, my gosh, and I just shoved, I had a handful of these when we first moved onto the farm, and I just shoved them in the corner of a garden because I wanted to put them somewhere. And 2 years later, I have a lot.
So they're kind of like a survival crop then.
Yeah, you know, and I think you should be a little bit smart about where you put them because they will spread. So even in retrospect, I'm gonna move them from where they are right now. I'm gonna move them a little bit further out, just because they're moving into my raspberry patch. I don't want them there, so these are the ones I pulled out.
So I've read that they produce 15 tons of biomass per acre, and 15 tons of above ground, and then another 15 tons below ground in root mass.
It's crazy how much biomass they produce. And then the other thing, remember when we were growing them in Calgary, there was no question the best garden soil in the whole place was the bed where we were growing the Jerusalem artichokes. Right. Like they must just be injecting so much sugar into the ground and helping that soil activity, or microbe activity go crazy, hey?
Well, I think they're related to the sunflower. If you leave them in the ground long enough, they actually produce a flower very similar to the sunflower. I think that's where the sunchoke name comes from.
Well, and they do look a lot like sunflowers, right? Like they're this tall, they have a really tall stem, they grow really high up, and you wouldn't really even know that there's an edible tuber unless you knew what they were.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I've heard pigs really like them too, that they're good food for pigs. Have you heard the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, if you planted a big patch of them, you could rotationally graze or feed the pigs off of the roots.
Yeah, I think they would go in there and actually just kind of root it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think these are a great crop for the homestead or farmstead.
Would you be up for doing a video in the future on how to ferment them? Sure. Okay. Pay attention to the channel, folks. We're gonna follow up on J-chokes, on how Michelle ferments her J-chokes.
Yeah.
'Cause we're gonna grow a